So they'll be calling you a radical. Happy Valentine's Day. Remember when I used to do my event at Diablo Canyon every year? Blue Hearts on Valentine's Day. Ooh, split me open. Talk about Valentine's Day. So a lot to talk about here. Real important. So as you know, post 2011. By the way, another humpback is washed up dead on the Jersey Shore. Not windmills. Not windmills. Hello. You can go with that lie all you want. It's a starvation event globally post 2011. And of course, scientists are baffled, curious, perplexed, bewildered, alarmed. Now, wait till you hear this one. So we've been documenting every one of these fake scientists who are ignoring Fukushima. I'm a butcher. What's a cow? I'm a baker. What's a cake? I'm an environmentalist. I work for the EPA. I'm a professor at a university. I'm a marine biologist. I'm just a scientist. Well, it's Fukushima. Talk about fraud. So wait till you hear this one. We've documented every one of them since 2011. There are dozens and dozens of them. Bewildered, mystified, stunned, alarmed, curious, you name it. New one. This is Alaska Beacon. I'll post it. You got to read it. They say it's similar to an underwater zombie apocalypse. Oh, we're halfway there, living on a nuclear fucking prayer. Halfway through my rehab. Probably walked a little too much yesterday. Pretty exhausted today. It's that cabbage. They destroyed me. So I had to tear one out of my leg and my perfectly good artery. They destroyed it. They destroyed my heart. It was perfect, but they wouldn't listen. So, a lot to talk about. So, Diablo Canyon, TikTok, is the clock going to run out? Which will come first? The licensing agreement expire, the bailout, or a major earthquake and tsunami? The repository. Talk about a repository. 40 years of spent fuel sitting in swimming pools. So, the repository in New Mexico, that decision's supposed to come. My guess they'll make it March 10th or 11th. This is how these psychos play. So the NRC, so Texas has filed, they went through their legislative process and banned it, but the feds can go right over the top of them. I tell people in Texas and New Mexico, you can pass all the laws you want. One day you realize the Nuclear Energy Crime Syndicate, which is the Department of Energy, the DOE, the NRC, Nuclear, they're the untouchables. There's a movie, Oppenheimer, I think it'll kill everybody. I bet $1 kill everybody. They did it anyway. So they're the untouchables. And if you don't believe me they're the untouchables, you know nothing about Fukushima. So there is so much news out on the nuclear front, So it's 10 years ago, right now, that famous hearing at San Onofre. I came out of the bone marrow transplant center. What a year 2013 was. 2011, 2012, I spent my time in the bone marrow transplant LDS fighting for my life, clinging to life. I went in on 11/11/11. The nuclear accident at San Onofre happened on January 30th, 2012, the very night that's the worst night I had. Slipped in and out of a coma. I went out for a long time, almost died that night. They had a meltdown there. Well, they released the valve. They had a backup. They had what we call a scram. And they're bringing the waste to Utah. Nobody, radon giving me cancer, everything giving me cancer. But they won't even talk about bringing the hot, against Utah state law, nuclear waste to Energy Solutions in Utah. Well, that's a long ways out there. 50 miles as the crow flies from Salt Lake City? San Onofre had a freaking radioactive event. It's not low level. So 10 years ago right now, yesterday, that hearing. So I come out of the bone marrow transplant center. I can hardly move. I can hardly walk. And in January 2013. Too sick for transplant. So my doctors are like, where do you want to go? The case was, I want to go to New York, see my anonymous family. I want to go to the Aaron Swartz hearing, January 11th. So I did. I didn't know. I broke down that day. That's the only time I broke down. Really seriously broke down. I didn't know he went home and hung himself. 35 years for downloading the server on MIT the same time as SemiAm, the crypto scam, and all these MIT criminals. You never heard anyone. How do you give him 35 years for downloading the server? He didn't do shit. So, 2013, then I went to the San Onofre shutdown hearing. That infamous day. I was so sick. I was so sucked up. Gene Stone throws that first share out of the box. Joni and Ray and I went over to, we snuck in at San Onofre. And they had tables set up and busloads of fake union workers. We infiltrated. We went in. Videoed. We got it out to the media that these were fake union. We interviewed them. They were newbies on the labor come line who were getting a free lunch and get on the list and getting a day's pay of union wages. They weren't even in the union yet. Bust them in, 7 loads of them, to the hearing San Clemente. I was due to speak, like I always am. The highway patrol handcuffed me while I'm in critical condition and put me in a little room. That's an arguable fact. After the hearing and before the hearing, the incredible Kathy Iwani, who was paramount in helping the shutdown of San Onofre, she comes up to me. Oh my God, I finally get to meet that San Onofre radical. I says, Kathy, they're done. San Onofre will close. She says, what are you talking about? No, they're not. No, they're not. Yeah, they are. How do you know? Something came over me. I just have that vibe. I can just feel it. I felt like that's the day that came over me that I might live. It was an incredible vibe that came over me that day. I'll never forget it. She's like, they're not going to. I says, yeah, I'll tell you what. We got the goods on them, man. They're afraid of prison. They're afraid of my army. Oh, they shut down. Nobody believed it could happen. It's the greatest accomplishment of grassroots activists in history. That's the most dangerous reactor in the United States with San Onofre. Now it's TikTok, Diablo Canyon Clock. Pilgrim wants to dump their water. Fukushima's been dumping the whole time, and the sheep go along. They're denying full core meltdowns and the wipeout of the Pacific Ocean. It's unbelievable. Mystified, stumped, curious, bewildered. I'll post it. Yeah, you can't make it up. Underwater zombie apocalypse. And these are scientists. It's like the starfish, the sea stars. Now, that's what this article's about. And now all Kevin Blanchard's work's being verified. I was saying it's going to take their fire, and everybody laughed at me, my historic type of work, my salmon work. Everybody, the ocean was thriving in 2010, 2011. Thriving. The humpbacks had come off the endangered list. The grays numbers were increasing. The salmon numbers were records on the Columbia, on the Rogue, on the Deschutes, on the Fraser, on all of them, the Kenai. Now look at them. It's a chain. You broke it. Fukushima pushing that energy in full core meltdowns. So, 2013, I can't believe it's been 10 years. I don't cry very often. I've been through a lot. So, I'm in Southern California fighting the shutdown of San Onofre in February 2013. So, there's a young woman, incredible young woman, that has the exact cancer as me. She has AML leukemia de novo, which is leukemia presents in tumors with a really high marker. Her marker was high. My marker was high. Hers was even higher. They threw the kitchen sink at her at LDS trying. She was the celebrity of LDS. They called us Kevin and Carla, Kevin and Carla, Kevin and Carla. She was so beautiful. She was incredible. Her and Marshall Jensen, probably the 2 most famous cases in the history of that unit. Marshall in the room next to me, first guy to get the HIV grandstanding. So I come home. immediately into the hospital. Getting blood work, seeing how I'm doing. My platelet counts were so low. A lot of doctors didn't want me to go. Finbal's like, you go. You got nothing to lose. He's an anti-nuclear. A lot of these doctors they can't talk. Bullshit HIPAA laws to protect the nuclear energy crimes, the untouchables. So I walk in. I can't believe it's been 10 years. I came home on, I believe, the 23rd of February. First question, my PA's in there. That blood works. I'm in the room, seeing what they're going to do with me. First question out of my mouth. How's Carla doing? Doctors don't get teary-eyed. I mean, especially oncologist in that unit. You can't. It's that hardcore. You can't become emotional with your patients because it'll chew you up and spit you out because so many pass. Roy trembled. She choked up immediately. She says, "Oh, Kevin, you don't know, do you?" Right then, I knew. I'm like, no. She was doing so good when I left. I talked to her right before I left. Okay, it's been 10 years. Carla Hennessy. I didn't even get to go to her funeral because I didn't know. But I cried that day a lot. I think about her every single day. I've never seen anybody fight like that. Ever. 2 transplants. Of course, as you know, Paul Winchester, one of my lifelong close friends, who I left his obituary with Allison McFarland in the NRC at that famous hearing in 2015. That famous rant I went on. He died a few days later. So I get home and he calls me. We've friends since we're kids. It's Kevin. It's back. The cancer's back. They've sent me home with hospice. They'll be dead here soon. Next probably 10 days. I'm like, oh my God. Oh. He spent an hour and a half on the phone calming me down. What do you want me to do? Just ask me. I'll do whatever you want me to do. Anything you haven't got done, you want me to finish for you. He says one thing. Only one thing. Because he's an Idaho kid. Born and raised there. He knew what got him. I used to call him the Atomic City Kid. You keep fighting for them Idaho steelhead. You keep fighting for those Idaho salmon to go to sea. Battle for them, Kevin. Protect. There's nothing more beautiful than being on the Salmon River and watching them run. He was a fly fisherman. And I promised him I would. And I have. Soon enough, he closed on D-Day that year. I'm the one that announced to the world. It got leaked to me at 4 o'clock in the morning from someone inside Kamala Harris's office. Had a lot of connections in those days. 10 years. 10 years later. Survived AML. Made the 10-year mark of a disease that should kill you. I'm a 1%er. Only the good die young. Where's my bracelet? Oh, we're halfway there. Living on a nuclear prayer. In the hospital for a while every day now for this, that, the other thing. I don't know, man. I've had open heart surgery twice now. This one almost killed me. I was in there yesterday and I saw him bruised from here to the tip of my toes. This time, every square inch of my body. Telling him. It's been a hell of a battle. Diablo Canyon, TikTok, which will come first? The tsunami, the earthquake, the bailout, the expiration of their license agreement. 40 years of Smithfield. Fukushima, lessons unlearned. Valentine's Day. Used to do that protest there at Diablo every year. Blue Hearts on Valentine's Day, I used to call it. That's before I knew that the Chumash, before they named it Diablo Canyon, the Spaniards, when a tsunami and earthquake hit there, the Spanish invaders, the Chumash used to call it the Mother's Heart. Dances, plays, the canoes would come up and down. You go to Teddy's house in New York City and look up at that giant, beautiful carved out of the center of an old redwood. That's where it came from. You can go in denial all you want about my work. All you want. Tide pools collapsed in 2013. Longevity heads south starting 2012 in the U.S. The big, greatest heat bubble over the western United States in history, the greatest drought, all the trees, the sea lions, the sills. How about the salmon? Salmon start to class in 2012 immediately. The steelhead, they go to sea 1 to 2 years. It's called half-pounders. Everybody laughing because we have record genes on the Chinook in 2011, 12, 13, 14. As they go to sea for 5 years. Will you believe me when they collapsed in 2016? Because we had 1.4 million big, healthy beasts. Live cam's still out on the Columbia after 8 years. I keep sending how the Army Corps of Engineers classifies Kevin Blanche. It's an unarguable fact. Will you believe me then? Yeah. Oh, it happened. Historic, radical collapse. We call those outliers in science. The wells that are washing up in the Atlantic Ocean are washing up the same as the wells did in the Pacific Ocean. More of my work verified. I did it as it happened. The mirrors. Walking over the top of them while they're washing up, starved to death by the thousands, by the hundreds of thousands. The sea lions, the sills, the anchovies, the sardines. Look it up. So scientists are mystified. They're baffled. They're stumped. They're curious. They're alarmed. They're bewildered. Underwater zombie apocalypse. And they call themselves scientists, and they get funding to study. Kevin Blanche's work has been so historic and cool, and I don't even own a fucking car. You know, oh, we're halfway there. Living on an anti-nuclear prayer. It's like everybody babbling about depleted uranium going to Ukraine. Depleted uranium in Russia. Depleted uranium is against international law. But nobody wants to talk about where depleted uranium comes from. Nuclear energy reactors. The U.S. and Russia use it daily. We use it in Fallujah. We sent troops to the Polygon. I fought them. I stood in front of the White House and fought with everything I had in 2002 and 3. You know, you're out of your mind sending these troops. That's the Russian test site. You know what's there? They sprayed white phosphorus over there. Oh, man, what's that? Everybody's having a fit about depleted uranium and you're going to Ukraine. But they will not talk about, nobody thinks anything all the way through. They won't. And they're in Fukushima denial. And we're going to just go along with this thesis. For every action, there's a reaction. And their answers to kettle Kevin Blanche, to hype me, to shadow ban me, internet kettling. I mean, just, you know, is it a coincidence I got cancer and went to the bone marrow transplant on 11/11/11? God's birthday was 11/11. What a number. I'll never forget her. I'll never forget any of them. Marshall Jansen, Carla Hennessy, Paul Winchester, Nancy Peterson. Boy, did they fight. They didn't lose their fight. It's been a hell of a freaking fight for me post. Only the good die young. You know, somebody asked me the other day in the hospital. This was so brutal this time. 2 heart attacks. They wouldn't listen to me. Had to argue with them and argue with them. Destroyed my infraction. Split me all the way open. Replaced the valve. It was the valve, just like I told them it was, that they replaced. Had to cut through my leg, take an artery out, replace my perfectly good artery. Then put a pacemaker in. Had to go up through my groin for a long time, and it just ripped me to This was brutal. This older nurse, because there were a bunch of younger nurses come in. She's Kevin. Your fight has been so unbelievable over the last 10 years. I've never seen suffering like this. She says, I've been here the whole time. I was one of your nurses at LDS. I was one of your nurses the first time on this open. Again, surviving AML leukemia. She looked me right in the eyes. I was really in pain that day, suffering. Was all that you went through to survive AML leukemia? Do you think it was worth it? You know, I had to think about it for a bit. And then I thought, yeah, it's been a lot of pain and suffering. It's been hardcore, and there's been not a lot of joy. But I've got to watch my grandkids grow. Haven't had much joy in the last 10 years. When your own government can hire teams of trolls to attack you viciously, dozens of YouTube sites, Facebook pages, 100%, to do nothing but slander Kevin Blanch. Why I'm in a bone marrow transplant center, why I'm in critical condition fighting for my life, and they're still at it, by the way, just attack me viciously. You know, and Google participates. The United States government has Trump power over all these social media sites. Who is the United States government? Who are they? Well, the Nuclear Energy Crime Syndicate, it's obvious. CIA, who are they? Nuclear Energy Crime Syndicate, it's obvious. The Untouchables. Oh, I'm halfway there, living on an anti-nuclear prayer. Take my hand, we'll make it, I swear. I did my sentence. I've committed no crime. Looks like I'll do the sentence the rest of my life now. I think about Paul and Carla every day, and Marshall. 10 years. What a year, 2013. We kicked that domino down at San Onofre. Thought we'd kick the one down at Diablo. Kicked it down at Pilgrim. Kicked it down at Yankee. Kicked it down at Dwayne Arnold. Kicked it down at Calhoun. Kicked it down at Oyster Creek. Kicked it down in Indian Point, New York. We kicked that domino over 10 years ago. I told Kathy that day. I told Gary Hedrick that day. I told Gene Stone, we've been battling these fuckers my whole life. They're done. San Onofre is done. How do you know? I just got a vibe. They're afraid of jail. Then it comes out, Peavy, and Peavy told me to go fuck myself in a hearing years ago. California Public Commission chair. Him and Moonbeamer Brown chopping up all that money on cheating on the exchange. I have the exchange shirt and book. I have it. Insiders inside there sent it to me. Without my cancer, that thing San Onofre never shuts down. Huh. Sweet are the uses of adversity. That'd be Shakespeare, boys. We had a team then, and we fought. What happened? They went after us. They slandered us. They attacked us. The internet kettled us. They bailed out these reactors at the state level, at the federal level. Nobody dares talk about the nuclear crime syndicate in public. But let me tell you something. underground, there's a lot happening. Because there are people inside the Beltway that hate the Nuclear Energy Crime Syndicate. But they can't say it in public because well, we know what they'll do to them. And if you don't believe me, you ask Ian fucking Pat Tillman what they do to him. You ask Aaron Swartz. You ask Megan Rice. It's like I've been watching a lot of documentaries because I'm quarantined, pretty much, because I don't watch TV. I watched 2 documentaries yesterday. Ted Bundy one, and then this one in Pocatello about, I seen 6 different people I know. I'm like, it's amazing how these crimes all lead to Utah. New scale. And I want to say this too about Super Bowl 57. There'll be documentaries done on Fukushima, on someday on Fukushima, on Super Bowl 57. Corrupt Rupert Murdoch sitting there with Elon Musk. Unleash the lines. I call it the Imperialist Bowl. Do you know Fox News demanded they painted the field the day before? People sliding and slipping all over the field because they painted it. Wanted better graphics. The call at the end, you knew whoever had the ball last would win. More than that, halftime show, Rihanna was pregnant. And my granddaughters were watching here. She says, "Oh my God, she's pregnant." Yeah, so much. But there's more stories beneath the stories on that. And he reads from here. There'll be documentaries done on Super Bowl 57. This would make Spygate look tame. Remember Brady's first one? Remember they were cheating? They had all the plays. Go ask Kurt Warner. Flightgate, Spygate. This one, it's a thumbprint of Americana. What's the United States in the last 30 years? Mark McGuire swinging Albert Bell's bat while riding Lance Armstrong's bike on the back of a Bob Baffert trained horse. And if you don't understand that metaphor, you shouldn't be watching on Balco, on Chemo. The Great Pacific Genocide. Mystified, baffled, stumped, bewildered, curious, alarmed. We're going to have to add it. Underwater zombie apocalypse, and these are scientists. The Nuclear Energy Crime Syndicate. They have no fucking clothes. Happy Valentine's Day, 2023. Fight goes on. Hang in there. Stay in tune.